Hi, welcome to the session. My name is Muninder Sambi. I'm a vice president here at Google Cloud. We're really excited about some of the trends that are happening in the enterprise today. There's a big shift in traffic patterns with shift of using public SaaS applications, of using cloud-based applications that requires the enterprises to actually rethink their WAN networks. Now, as we all know, 80% of the enterprises are going to be multi-cloud, and we have seen a tremendous amount of growth in GenAI applications. Almost 15x is what we have seen in 2024. Now, as we see these trends that are happening from GenAI, about 90% of prompt leaking attacks that happened resulted in a loss of sensitive data. Now, we all know data is the enterprise IP, and that has actually led to our original introduction of the cross-cloud network, which was built to connect users, applications, and employees in a secure and a reliable manner. We are now really excited about extending cross-cloud network to offer Cloud WAN, which is built on the same tenets of what cross-cloud network is about. It's an open ecosystem where we bring in the best of breed ISV ecosystem, where we seamlessly integrate them into your workload, into your environment. The second, we think security should be built in, not bolted on. And lastly, how can we provide a performance optimized infrastructure? Thinking about these tenets, Cloud WAN can now offer the best lower latency, fully managed backbone for the enterprise. We bring in the best and the richest ecosystem partners like Broadcom, as well as we also provide the tight partnership that we have from a peering perspective with all the SaaS telco providers in the world. What does it help an enterprise? It allows enterprises to now secure whether the enterprise user is connecting at home, in the branch, in the campus, and also adopt with confidence in a secure manner the AI services that their enterprises want us to use. To do this, we can't do it alone. And this is why I would like to bring Jason, who's the general manager for the enterprise security group at Broadcom, to join us and talk about how we are bringing the solution to our enterprises.
Thanks, Muninder. Glad to be here.
Now, Jason, we've heard a lot about what Broadcom has to offer, well known for AI and AI infrastructure. It'll be good to understand from a security perspective, your business. What does that focus on today?
Yeah, Broadcom, clearly a very large and well-known semiconductor vendor, but also has a significant software portfolio of which we're part. So the enterprise security group is comprised of the Symantec, a significant portion of the Symantec portfolio. It was an acquisition back in, I think, 2019, 2020, as well as Carbon Black, right? So that comprises endpoint security, network security, which I think we'll talk a lot about here, and then also data loss prevention, which is a center point for, I think, the discussion you had before on AI and information protection, all the more important in today's world.
Now, we've been working for a while together,
Yeah.
Broadcom and Google Cloud. Thank you for being a really good customer of ours.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've done as part of Cross Cloud Network is provide that choice to our customers to choose from the best of breed security that they have, right? Can you just talk to me about what your SSE strategy is?
Sure. I mean, maybe just start. We've had a great partnership with Google Cloud. Symantec started down this path a number of years back, probably almost 4 or 5 years back, as a hosting environment for all of our cloud-based solutions. And I've had just tremendous success working with the team and bringing these services to market. We went beyond that, actually, and have done some really interesting integrations on the data loss prevention side with Google Cloud to allow people who are in Google Cloud to have data security for information flowing between workloads. We've done some interesting integrations for how we tie into Google Chrome to help people in terms of data as it goes through the web browser, which has been powerful for us. And I think we've had some conversations in the past about that. And then now on the network side in SSE, we have a really interesting portfolio, which is a combination of the traditional on-prem or virtual proxies, our cloud-based service, the web gateway service in the cloud, and then CASB, also cloud-provided, DLP, which can exist on-prem or in the cloud. So we have a really strong portfolio that's been built for and used by the most sophisticated organizations on the planet. A lot of our strategy now is bringing that set of capabilities to a broader market, much like you're talking about with the extension of Cloud WAN. As threats have become more prevalent, as you've seen more attackers coming with more advanced threats further down market, it turns out everybody needs enterprise-grade security. So we've been talking a lot about enterprise-grade security for the whole market. And I think it kind of aligns to your thought of kind of enterprise-grade connectivity, even if it's kind of crossing the network. How do you make that available to people in all states? So SSE and the web security side of this are a really critical part of our strategy, and making that in Google's essential to our delivery.
Yeah, and we're really excited to have you well integrated. So it's not just a ships in the night, it's well integrated into our Google Cloud offering. One thing I think that you talked about is the enterprise grade. And you have very large customers who are actually consuming the security stack on-prem. As they evolve and adopt something that we are going to offer, they will need these services in the cloud.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we see a lot of people trying to find their way through it. And as you say, enterprise customers always have the most sophisticated requirements and all these edge cases. But we see a really rich set of capabilities that are provided by the capabilities on Google Cloud. So we've already taken advantage of this for our customers, being able to use your network to have information transit to different parts of the world at very high performance. We're able to offer high quality kind of line rate security services that allow people to have a lot better capacity and application experience than if they just went straight through the internet. So it's been a great partnership so far, and looking forward to more.
Yeah, and as you know, we are really proud of our planet scale network, about 41 regions, 202 edge locations, giving us global scale for our joint customers, right? Almost, we have a reach of almost into 200 plus countries and territories with high performance reliability. One of the things that we do want to make, we have done really well, is as customers move to cloud and SaaS, the typical controls, the foundational controls are almost table stakes. And more data is IP, and data protection is really, really important. You also talked about like CASB.
Yeah.
As SaaS applications get consumed, CASB becomes very foundational for anything that an enterprise would want to do.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about more into what Broadcom has to offer
Sure.
that's best in class, and how do you provide that migration to such a new architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you think about how the evolution of applications, of workers being remote offices, looking to use things like Cloud WAN and direct internet egress to get rapid access to your cloud applications with high performance, it has a lot of security implications. You need to know which cloud applications and services you're using out there in the world, which is really where CASB started out. But then you need to also know, are the services being used well? Are you actually, what data is going to those services? Should that data actually go, right? And so that's where kind of DLP tends to plug in from our CASB side. How you protect users as they go to the cloud and access the internet broadly, which again is where kind of our web gateway comes in. And then those things start to come together. So you start using the web to go through odd ways to get things. And so you got to protect how data flows in the environment, and make sure that your data is protected, that you know where it is. And then some of this even comes down to third-party kind of risk. So great, maybe you're using a service. Maybe that service is allowed to have your data. Maybe it's it's a Salesforce, it's a whatever you might be. Well, if something happens to that service, how do you know if you're compromised? How do you know if your data is at risk? Well, you have to know that data went to that service, right? And to be able to respond to it and understand your risk might be. So, data is at the center of everything. And I think you talked about AI earlier on. This becomes a really interesting use case as people are adopting AI to get that benefit of productivity and to get these gains to offer better services to their customers. Well, look, those AI engines work really well when they train on your data. How do you make sure they train only on the right data? How do you make sure things that don't go in there that shouldn't get in? How do you make sure that the prompts that people are actually sending into those AI engines aren't improper and putting information in that shouldn't get in? And then how do you kind of at the last stage make sure anything that comes out is protected and stopped? So there's a lot of really interesting use cases now around AI that are more about enabling companies to take advantage of AI, but do so in a safe way that doesn't expose their proprietary or confidential data, or even regulatory kind of compliance-related data that could get them in a lot of trouble.
Awesome. So if I was a user and I was an enterprise that was using your offering, and by mistake if I went to a prompt, or even my employees went and punched in our social security number, Symantec, like your capabilities, your product capabilities will be able to protect and say, social security cannot be allowed on such a
Yeah, so what we've been building is kind of connectivity in with the web browser. So if you're in through web browser or T, whatever it may be, we can look at it and see that prompt going in and say, no, that data should not go in, and stop it and block it. I mean, this is really what data loss prevention is all about, is looking for confidential data, proprietary data, social security numbers, could be PCI related data, credit card numbers, PII, whatever you want it that's important to your organization, and saying whatever that shouldn't go in, stop it from happening, and prevent the data from being kind of potentially exposed or kind of exiting your control.
Which is really valuable for
Super
our enterprises,
powerful.
right? And
Yeah.
especially with GenAI, I'm sure people are really worried about employees like me making that mistake of driving license, PI information.
Yeah, and
getting
look, some of it's accidental. I mean, it's you could think you're using pick your Google Workspace, for instance, and you're trying to turn on something like Gemini. Depending on the hygiene in your organization about how you share, a lot of people share documents and they share it and they don't really lock down to a single person or a couple people. It might be, look, anybody in my company can see it, but nobody's going to find it because they'd have to find the link to the document, so I feel safe. Turns out if you turn on an AI in the engine in that system, a lot of times it'll pick up data that it has access to. And so if your hygiene isn't great, you could be exposing data to kind of that engine. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. You got to worry about it. But that's where something like a data loss prevention becomes really powerful. So you can start saying like, hey, I just don't want this type of data going in. So as long as it's not that, as long as it's kind of not this characteristics, maybe it's okay for it to consume, but otherwise. So it becomes not only something that keeps you safe, but actually I think it starts to become an enabling technology that makes AI possible. You got to imagine a number of CIOs, and I know certainly our CIO is debating this very thing, want to take advantage. The general managers want to take advantage of this kind of capability, but you have to figure out how you do that safely, right? How do you do that without exposing yourself to risk and potentially breach down the road? So we think it's a really interesting use case and an interesting area for us to collaborate on.
So if I have to just summarize, like allowing your customers or joint customers to accelerate their AI journey without having to compromise on security.
Yeah.
Whether it's for web, whether it's for data, CASB, and other controls.
Yeah, 100%. And then, I think back to the trends you talked about, also allowing them to work where they need to work, be it remote offices, in a coffee shop, in the main campus, to experience those applications and perform that work seamlessly, to kind of handle the international dynamic of most of these businesses today and get access to content wherever you may be and provide services from wherever you may be. There's all kinds of really powerful use cases that we're working on with Google with the WAN capabilities you provide and that amazingly performant backbone.
Yeah, I think you brought up a very good point. Like, we wanted to make, as cross-cloud network, we bring in the best security that your company has to offer. But we want to make it very seamless for an enterprise to connect onto a global WAN to their applications, whether it's in the cloud or in SaaS. And one of the things we wanted to provide is having a consistent security control, whether they connect on the internet, interconnect, or any other means to come to the cloud. And as Google Cloud WAN, we have the best peering, one of the best peering among other providers.
Yeah.
With almost every SaaS application for any global reach, with the 2+ million miles of subsea cable that we have.
Yeah.
One thing that also was very interesting, I think, when we went down this journey, was not just employees being able to access your SSE service. We also found that there are different type of workloads that customers have. They want to be able to access an SSE service before they go onto the internet, and internet egress. And a simple firewall does not cut it.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things that we did as part of this joint development with your team is to be able to ensure that the workloads that are trying to access an internet egress point also go through the same service that they're using for their internal employees or their contractors or partners.
No, it's really interesting. Prior to joining this company, I'd always kind of known about web proxies, but it wasn't something I really understood. And you'll get this certainly as a long-time networking expert. One of the things we often do with our customers in those situations, with workloads in particular, in those situations, is the devices, the servers themselves, don't actually have a default route. Just kind of a weird thing. Like, you think networking, you're used to, it's always a place for the packet to go. Like, so no, they don't. There's just explicitly, the only way they can access the internet is through a proxy. Like, they're configured to talk to the proxy, and so they know where to go. And so if you were to get access to that system system as itself doesn't actually have network connectivity. That's powerful. From a security perspective, nobody wants those servers necessarily to talk out, but an application might need to. And to your point, a very consistent experience. You want to have that same set of policy and configuration. This is an interesting spot for us where we see customers using both, again, our physical proxies, virtual proxies, cloud proxies, flowing back and forth between them for different use cases, but to get that consistent experience. I think the other thing you pointed out, which is a really great one, is security is really meant to be invisible. Like when we're doing, through most of the time, things shouldn't happen. You should get blocked if you do something bad. You try to access some content you shouldn't. Sure, that should not happen, and that's our job. But when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's meant to be invisible. And I think that's where the performance layer here becomes so critical. I'm trying to access a cloud service. I don't want to know that I have security, that a proxy's in the way. I don't want to know any of that. I just want to access my service and have it be a high quality experience. And so that's really critical to have that peering, to have the capabilities we have, to have the performance that comes through it for all of us, and to maintain productivity at these organizations.
No, this is really nice. We're really happy about the collaboration. Just for the audience, we've been co-developing for almost, I would say, 18, 24 months. The product that we are using internally is called NCC Gateway, but we have made it really transparent to our customers. Whether any of our joint enterprises are connecting on the internet, interconnect, or even their workloads, they don't have to have different bespoke ships in the night security stacks. They can consistently use the Broadcom SSE capability that is there in the cloud to be able to provide security across enterprise workloads, apps, everything, and even internet egress. I think this capability of the NCC Gateway is so powerful, does not rely on route exchange and the complexity that other providers have actually offered. It's a much more seamless, integrated, standards-based, transparent to many of the workloads that customers will bring up. We're really excited about it. We're looking forward to more announcements with Broadcom. Coming back to our audience, thank you for joining Jason and me. We're really excited about what we are launching here today with Cross-Cloud Network now being extended with Cloud WAN. Details are there on our website. Feel free to scan the QR code at the end of this particular video. Jason, we're on a very nice journey. I think we're going to accelerate a lot of our customers' cloud transformation, especially transformation with GenAI. I look forward to the partnership with Broadcom.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having us today, and look forward to the partnership as well.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, man.